Let's talk about the hormones specifically involved in the menstrual cycle and menopausing. But I am going to focus on estrogens, okay, because I think it gets abbreviated way too much, and there's a bigger picture to estrogens as a whole family of hormones. In another video, I talk about my pet peeve when I read about estrogen being the primary source of the ovaries being the primary source of estrogen, and I just couldn't join those dots together. And it turns out there is so much more to estrogens as a family. So let me just talk about that for a moment. The ovaries release an estrogen during our reproductive years, specifically called estradiol. And this is the most powerful of the estrogen family. Now, there are major and minor estrogens, and they are present in our whole body, and they are, newsflash, not just made in the ovaries. There are also non-ovarian sources of estrogens as a collective, and there are tissue-specific estrogens which are made in the skin and the bone and the muscle. And then there are precursors to the estrogen family which circulate around the entire body and then kind of pulled in and converted to the relevant estrogens or even progesterone and testosterone that our body needs at that particular moment in time. But what we also have to remember about the ovarian estrogens is they do circulate the entire body. They don't just go between the ovaries and the uterus, which I think when we first learn about the menstrual cycle or reproduction at school, you kind of get that idea that that is just what's happening. But remember in the menstrual cycle why we feel different at different times of the month, okay? It's because it's circulating the entire body. And there are different roles that estrogens have, but they actually have a role in every single system of our body. There are 11 systems of the body, and our estrogens have a role from head to toe. So in the brain, they can also work like neurotransmitters, and they also have neuroprotectant qualities within the brain. And subtle shifts of these hormones can have an impact on our cognition, our mood. Okay, so hormones affect the probability of our behavior. They're the explanation, they're not the excuse. But even knowing how much they can impact our brain and things like that, and even our hearing, our sight, our taste, okay, and moving down the whole body has an impact on our joints, our muscles, our bone, our skin, our digestive system, the relationship between estrogens, the brain, and the gut biome, okay. The liver, okay, supports liver function, supports kidney function, everywhere you can think of. Our hearts, okay, as well as reproduction. And then also estrogens are like the conductor of the hormone orchestra. There are a collective of hormones, and estrogen has a vital role in supporting the activity of other hormones. So this is where kind of things get a little bit confusing when you hear people talk about menopause, and they say, okay, it's not to do with the ovaries, it's to do with stress, right? Yes and no, because the stress hormones like cortisol, part of the collective, will have a direct impact on the efficiency of estrogens. And when estrogens dip, they can't support the hormone activity of other hormones like serotonin, for example, one of our happy hormones. So the shift and change in ovarian activity and the levels that generally go down over time, they do go up a little bit and then they come down. It's a bit like a slinky going down a set of stairs, okay? This can have a fundamental impact on our entire anatomy and physiology. So we have to look at the things that influence the hormone collective as well as the things that influence the ovaries. And this is why at the Menopause School we talk about a whole person approach. We have the ovarian aging, but we also have something called hormonal aging. And we have to look at how those two things merge together and what we can do to support each of those 11 systems of the body, ovarian aging and hormonal aging.